start with some basic blocking with the double stick. After your initial block, you can strike with the lead hand or the rear hand. Notice that when we block, we're striking with both sticks at the same time. Now, it doesn't always have to be this way, but this is the one that we're starting off with. Now, after blocking, you can bring your hand over the shoulder or under the arm. It really doesn't matter. It's usually whatever feels comfortable to you, but it is good to work it both ways. Now, notice in the actual application, one hand is hitting the arm and the other hand the stick. Now, actually, both could be striking the opponent's arm. One stick could hit the arm, the other could hit the hand. My lead blocking hand goes under my arm after the block, so I strike to the low line. When it goes over the shoulder, you would typically strike to the head. Now, you can use a forehand strike after your block, but I don't necessarily recommend it because it's so much slower. As you see here, you can get 2 extra strikes in before you use that forehand strike. The backhand strike is just so much quicker and gives your opponent no time at all to react. And don't forget, in reality, her strike would be hitting my hand, causing me to drop my weapon before she even strikes me in the head. If you feel more comfortable using the forehand strike, try using the rear hand. Here we're blocking and then striking with the rear hand. But make sure you practice the backhand strike. It doesn't have to be a half strike all the time. You can swing all the way through with that backhand, and practice will allow you to get a lot of power into it. And of course, you can always start adding some combinations. Now, don't forget, with this block, we're actually striking the arm and or hand of our opponent. There's really nothing different on blocking to the low line. Just make sure you strike with enough force to stop his arm and make him drop his weapon before following up with your attack. Here we're showing the lead and rear hand strike. Note how I'm striking the attacker's arm. Your goal is not just to block it, but to cause injury to make them drop their weapon. Most styles will tell you to strike the hand, and that's fine, but that's a small target. If you can hit the arm, that's fine too, and it's a much bigger and easier target to hit. Now, you can also block with one stick pointing down and one stick pointing up. Now, this is a little bit different than the roof block that we're going to show later, because the force of your block is out and in a downward motion. Make sure you bend your legs when doing these blocks and low-line strikes. So many people are so lazy and don't want to bend their legs to drop down for those strikes. If all you're doing is bending at the waist, you're just presenting your head as a nice target for your opponent. Here again, both of these strikes could have been on my opponent's arm, not one on the hand and one on the stick. Also notice how I'm stepping with my right foot. You want to angle off away from the attack. See how stepping moves you away from the attack and opens up more target areas for you to strike. There's not too much different on the angle 2, except that it is imperative that you step with that left foot. I see so many students that just stand there and try to block that incoming strike. Not only can you not block it if you don't move, but you notice how stepping puts you almost behind them. It gives you a lot of openings, a lot of opportunities for counterattacks. The roof block is normally shown off of the vertical downward strike, be it an 8 or a 12, whatever your system uses. Here again, stepping is important. Like I said, this block is usually shown for the vertical downward strike, but it can also be used for an angle 1 or an angle 3, a diagonal strike or a horizontal strike. You just have to bend your legs and drop down there to block that. If you haven't noticed it by now, not bending your legs is a pet peeve of mine. Now here again, you're actually striking the arm and hand on this block. I'll show you this a little bit closer in a minute when I work with my partner. Okay, here's how this block is used. Notice both of them are striking the arm. I'm not really trying to stop the attack. I'm trying to hit their arm with both of my sticks. Then you push it aside and then counter with your strike of your own. Now here's a closer look. Notice it is imperative that you step with that right foot. You cannot stay there and stand underneath their attack. The block, as you can see, is actually a strike. Both of her sticks are hitting my arm. From here, her left hand pushes my arm away as she counter strikes to my head. Now, in case you're thinking that these half strikes wouldn't have any effect on your attacker, you can follow through, just like we're doing here. When you're practicing a drill with your partner, you're going to throw a half strike or stop the attack. But it's actually a through strike using full power. And here we're showing some applications with the blade. Alright, I'd like to clarify one final thing about the roof block. A roof block is not an X block like you see in many traditional styles. If you try to do the traditional roof block with your sticks, your opponent's weapon will crash right through and strike you in the head or shoulder. You simply don't have enough power to repel his strike when he's throwing that vertical strike at full force. The other thing you need to remember is that you need to step offline. You don't just stand here like this. You need to move offline while you're striking the attacking arm and or hand. If my attacker was striking me for real, my stick would not stop it. It would break right through. When training, we often get lulled into a false sense of confidence or security because our partner cooperates with us. If they don't strike full power when they throw an attack during training, they always stop it or hold back so as not to injure their partner. That's fine, but you need to be aware of this. You cannot just stand there underneath the attack when it's coming in at you. You need to move offline, away from the attack. Remember, your left hand is also guiding it away. If you need further convincing of why you don't want to just stand there, think of a bladed weapon coming at your head.